We are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel with a brand new show called, I got to figure out a way to gate that really well, Show Me Your Moves. And you might be thinking, is this our new Captain Falcon fan cast here on Plus One EXP? It's not. It is a new monthly feature that's going to be going on during 2026. We're getting a little bit of an early start on that as we explore life and design through the lens of PbtA moves. What's a PbtA move? We're going to talk about that. We're specifically going to talk about making hard moves because that is our theme here at Plus One EXP for the year. It doesn't have to be your theme. That's fine. This isn't intended to be a Dungeon 24, 3, what was it? I don't know. Where you do a thing every day. It's intended to be a way for us to live a little bit more intentionally and a little challenge ourselves a little bit in 2026. This is our episode 0. So if we seem like we don't know exactly what we're doing, spot on. Good job. You caught us. But we are going to talk through a little bit about what that theme means, but I want to introduce, let's introduce our ongoing host for the year and then our special guest for tonight, who might be the reverse of who you think. Aaron King, why don't you tell people about who you are, what you do, and where folks can find you online, because you're going to be our guest host on this show for the year.
Hi, I'm Aaron King, and despite what Tony said, I know exactly what I'm doing.
Well, good. Awesome. That's it.
Also, I'm in a weird... I fucked up my camera. I don't know how to fix it because I don't stream. So if I look kind of noirish, if you see a splash of color here and there, if someone started playing saxophone the second you started watching us, I don't know how to fix that. I've asked that guy to stop playing saxophone.
Aaron rolled an 8 and did not pick color on their pick list.
I got on the stream. It doesn't look like the way I want it to.
It's also weird.
Tony's just hogging all the color saturation.
I am like it right now. It is kind of desaturating as you go across the stream. It's a little interesting. Also, you cannot see right now because of how Aaron zoomed in. When we're in another view, you might be able to see better. There are interesting muted color pops in the mix also, though, too. So we'll get into that as we go. But just pay attention. It's a secret.
This is an ARG.
Yeah, that's if you can solve the puzzle, then you win.
I've given you all the clues, Mr. Policeman.
Awesome. Aaron, we'll talk about you won't be able to tell if Aaron is blushing later on when I'm complimenting them because of the desaturation. But Aaron is one of my favorite designers, period, to hang out with in person. But also, I love the stuff that they make. Patchwork World is constantly in my top 3 favorite games. Since I played it, it has not dropped out of the top 3. And I don't know that anything's ever gonna make it move out. But I really love your focus and your understanding on exactly what we're talking about this year on PbtA moves, on how they influence gameplay, on what they can be. And I think you think about them in highly differentiated ways. I'm super excited to have you on with us over the course of the year, helping me and other folks explore this as somebody who I think is one of the best people creating in the PbtA move space. I'm super glad to have you, and I'm really, really glad you're here.
Thank you for supporting my lack of an intro and then just stepping in and doing my intro for me.
Well, it's fine. That's my job. I'm a professional.
Yeah.
And then let's meet our special guest for tonight, and that's Sarah Frank. Sarah, I want to tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online.
Hi, I'm Sarah X Franco, or you can just call me your stepdad after you get me a beer. I do the cult here at Plus One EXP. I enjoy playing a lot of games. You can find me everywhere on the internet at Sarah X Franco, where I'll either be hyping games that I've played or talking about my plants, because I'm really into plants right now. It defines who I am. And that's all I have to say about that.
What's your favorite plant right now?
My favorite plant right now, I just got a neon pothos that I'm really, really excited about. He's just so bright green and so beautiful. And I just repotted my Monstera, and I gotta
repot my plants.
He's just got so leggy. He's so long and scraggly. He hasn't put out any new leaves in 1,000 years. And so I'm like, come on, little guy, you can do it.
Yeah.
But again, the like anxious person in me is like, you've killed your plant somehow by doing this.
If we get up to let's say 15 viewers on stream, we also have a special plant story we'll tell you about PAX.
Yes.
But we have to get 15 viewers on stream to do it.
And you have to subscribe to our Patreon.
You do have to subscribe to our Patreon or become a member of Zine Club. We'll tell Zine Club members about it. But it involves another person who we have talked about right before chat, and security having to be called at PAX Unplugged.
Some hard moves were made.
Some hard moves were made. And
is it because Keegan took a shit in the Triangle Agency?
This is not because Keegan. That one, the security was like, "We're into it" on that one, and so I didn't have any.
Surprisingly okay.
I didn't have any beer, so I filled this very large glass with some wine that I had in my little mini fridge behind me. But let's dive in a little bit more to everything. But before we do that, we do have a question from chat. And that's that I've heard it's from real_meatcastle. I've heard that Aaron King is taking RPGs seriously in 2026. Is that any truth to this rumor? Aaron, do you want to drop any spoilers here?
Yeah, I have to live the theme. I'm making a hard move. I have often not taken things seriously in order to avoid failure, but this time I'm going to try hard and I'm going to die hard. Excellent. As I believe famed canceled band Kanye West once said.
Yes.
So yeah, that's part of why I'm here. But that was a happy accident. That was a New Year's resolution I made. Right now, the Christmas creep is real. The New Year's resolution creep is real. But yeah, I'm going to be publishing a lot of games this year and reprinting a lot of games and going to some conventions and doing this every month and loving it and not failing.
There we go. Anyways, so this is, like I said, this is episode 0. This is really to kind of dive in. So the make a hard move is, like I said, our theme for the year. We have cool hats, Sarah, if yours is nearby. Mine is lost to the ether suddenly. I don't know if you have your hat nearby.
Not nearby, but
that's fine.
maybe
Don't worry about it. We'll all be in costume next time. At least Aaron and I will be.
I'm dressing as Vince and Meg Baker next time.
That's
both
great.
Of them.
Both of them. So making hard moves is the theme that we've been reflecting on. Something I started thinking about. We have a little theme every year. It's just a little fun thing that we do a little logo around, and sometimes it's like have more pizza. Like it literally is very often not serious. This year we thought, hey, like we've had to make a lot of difficult choices over the last few years. We're at a state in the world right now where things are really challenging for people. Is there a way we can kind of build and support community, talk about design, and do something more intentional with our annual theme, at least for our staff and internal creative community, but also inviting other people to participate. There is no intention for this to be something that's super challenging for people, but there is a level at which we want people to think about things intentionally. And so I was thinking about it all summer long. Oftentimes things will start out with an image. For me, I loved the concept of making hard moves and was like, well, snake eyes on a dice is always going to be like, hey, you failed that roll. The GM needs to make a hard move. And I got really kind of fascinated by that. I got a snake eyes dice tattoo.
Where is it? Can we see it?
It's on my elbow. Yeah, you can see it right here.
Oh, okay.
Really was thinking about like who we wanted to do it, like partner with for this. And the two people who immediately came to mind were Aaron, because
Vince and Meg Baker,
they said no. Was Aaron, and like specifically because I love the way you think about design and hard moves, and even listening to like games you play and run, like describing how you interact with your character, like your players. Like you're somebody who's very willing to make intentionally difficult choices and present those to the players to see how they react to them. It's something I love about when you run games for us. But I also seen you do it with the player, like the characters that you run also too when somebody else is. So in addition to the design philosophy, it's something I see you live out a lot. And every time I talk to people about them not liking PbtA, when I'm like, why? They're just like, I know our GM kind of sucked. Lots of times it comes down to GMs not knowing, okay, like what is a hard move? How do you do that well? What does it look like to create an obstacle? How do you create opportunity out of that? What are the different things that signifies. And so the invitation was for you to write something. And then the other person, I was like, all right, cool, but we got to get Adam Voss to make some really cool and dope art. So the dagger and the snake, if you've seen the snake image, and all those things come from the hands and mind of Adam Voss. So we've got a whole bunch of things that we're doing just to kind of celebrate that idea, and to make the invitation to people who want to explore the space of PbtA design, to think about their life, and maybe a hard move isn't where you're at right now. Maybe you're like, I do not have the bandwidth for a hard move. I need to make a gooey move or a sharp move or some other type of move. That's cool. We want people to make intentional moves in 2020, to set a small, simple goal and just try to work towards it. Lensing it through Powered by the Apocalypse moves seems like a really fun and interesting way to do that. So every month, we just launched a jam. Like I literally launched it right before we went live. You go to ttrpg.links /make moves jam. It'll take you there. It doesn't start till December, but the goal is just sometime this year to write down a PbtA move and submit it. And we will have us and our guests talk about some of them each month. We will create a community of like intentionality around some of that. And it could be just, hey, I made a funny little move, or it could be, hey, this is something that's really serious to my life right now, and kind of some of the process that I'm considering. So that is the big theme that we are embarking on this year, and kind of the community of practice we're looking to create and invite people into around it. But that's it. And we just want it to be fun, because that's one of our primary values is if something's worth doing, it's worth having fun doing it. So Aaron, let's talk a little bit about the concept of making a hard move. I've referenced it a couple times, but we had you actually write a nice little zine on this that Johnny did I think really good layout on. I hope everybody else does also too. This will be available free on our site starting tomorrow. If you want to get the print version, it's like $10. I hope we give away thousands of them this year. But we had invited you to reflect on some of this stuff. I gave you the theme and said, hey, can you put together some thoughts on this? And you wrote down some really good words and did some good examples. Talk to us a little bit more about like what your approach to this and why you think hard moves are important in play.
Yeah. PbtA, in case people don't know, stands for Powered by the Apocalypse, and that is named after the RPG Apocalypse World by Vincent and Megway Baker. Is this still kickstarting right now?
Oh man,
the new edition.
So. I think it is, because it was a nice long Kickstarter. I will pull that up and we will get that link. And Thank also, or Signal Station, if you want to drop the link, you absolutely can, because I trust you and you have the ability to do so. But yeah, I think it has like another 2 or 3 weeks on it. It's a long campaign.
Yeah, just like for the time was super revolutionary, and I think still has a lot of really applicable broad player and GM principles. Came out of the Forge era. The Forge was a game design message board, and so instead of skills or feats or abilities, both characters in the game and the GM have moves that they make, and the GM in particular is invited to make a hard move often. And so if the players roll poorly, or if they look to the GM to figure out what happens, the GM can make a move as hard as they want, which sometimes is a soft move. They foretell future danger, or they give you exactly what you want and say the price. But sometimes the move is very hard. If someone has a gun pointed at you and you say, I'm not sure what to do, I pass, I don't know what to do, the GM's probably going to make the hard move of having that character shoot you with that gun pointed at you. And so that's maybe a bit of what Tony was talking about with the bad GMs of Powered by the Apocalypse games. They are supposed to establish the fiction and honor that fiction and honor that prep. And so if a baddie's coming at you, respect to all my baddies out there, but they are going to do bad things unless they are stopped. Much like we see in the world. I don't know. I also live in Minneapolis, which I should say is now actively under ICE attack. I don't know if you all saw the big press release. And so when this theme was said to me, I mean, we have had a lot of awful things happening here in Minneapolis, but then we're having more now. And so I am thinking about what it means to make the hard choices and to act instead of only wanting or waiting.
Yeah, Minneapolis, a city also familiar with other hard move periods of history, also too. Like, no, it is like I said, it's one of those things where it is wild, and I think there's a tendency for us to kind of retreat into play in a way that is good for mental health for escapism, but also like there are people out there who are like, yeah, keep politics out of my game, and I'm like, hey, but what if we were actually exploring these things through a lens of play that allowed us to intentionally confront them and think about them more proactively also too. So I think people have to pick their level of challenge in life. You got to think about your bandwidth. Like I'm somebody who enjoys a wild amount of privilege, and so I am somebody who I think it's easier for me to take risks, right, and to take on hard choices. And I think it's incumbent on people who look and have the privilege I have to make harder moves and take bigger risks than other people. And I think, again, this is something where we want people to reflect on, like, what is that level of challenge for you? Like, how are you doing that intentionally? But also not to put yourself at risk also too. And so, again, play is a great space to explore that in, and hopefully motivates us to live life in kind of a better way. Aaron, you put out some banger content in this PDF and in this little zine, and I want to go through some of it in a little bit. But before that, let's jump to coming up with some more practical things. I asked each of us to think ahead of time tonight about like what is one of your favorite moves, and just kind of sharing that. Oh, cheap streamer, cool. I gotta love a spam bot. Thank you, whoever took care of that, Sarah. Maybe.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, so to think about what kind of start with, what are some of our favorite moves from a game that we want to share with everybody. So, Sarah, since you haven't had much of a chance to have the spotlight yet, do you want to start? You want to share your favorite move with us?
I crave the light. Thank you for passing it to me.
That's why you're so good with plants.
Yeah. The reality is I am becoming plant. So soon the metamorphosis will be complete. So I do have a couple of games here. And like we were talking about it before the stream started, and technically like not powered by the apocalypse, but close enough because it's got like the rankings. I had to pull out Triangle Agency because it's just a fucking banger. And the one that I specifically went to, the first time I played Triangle Agency, for my anomaly, it's just gun. It's not the gun, it's just gun. And one of the moves on it is eliminate. You can remove a mundane object or person from the equation permanently. Once they existed, now they do not. You aim your gun and you roll. On a success, the target disappears without a trace. On 6 or more threes, you choose any number of targets you can see from where you're standing and they disappear without a trace. But on a failure, the target is killed. The object is destroyed. The living creature dies. This fact is visible, obvious, and potentially horrifying. And I really like the way that this changes sort of the dynamic of encounters or violence in the game, and reframing like gun as the kind of the intent of like, what are you trying to do, right? You're trying to remove something from your position, but on the failure, it's no, you've done the horrific thing of like shooting someone. Like, and I really love that balance between the two, and how it really pushes that understanding of physical violence being legitimately horrifying, and that there's a cost to it. Especially when you're playing something as evocative as gun. Yeah. The second I played this game and those were my moves, that one stood out to me in such a big way.
And it has a beautiful picture of a rock.
It does have a beautiful picture of a rock. I don't know if we can see it.
Yeah, you got it. You did a good job. Yeah. Sarah, really certainly there's a note about there that if a good man has the gun, that everything will be fine. Is that not in there? Is there not a note in there that says that?
You know, it doesn't seem to, but it does have the question. So when you've got you like can answer the questions differently that help like motivate your character. The question for this one is, will you remember them all? Like, will you remember who you disappeared? And and again, like so powerful, like the responsibility of enacting this sort of fundamental change to an entity and taking the ownership and responsibility of it. Powerful stuff. Love to see it.
Signal Station points out you might need to get a candle because it might be some sort of invisible ink situation. So
if someone else wants to volunteer up their very beautiful version of the Triangle Agency to test the theory on, I'm happy to give it a go.
Okay.
But with my own, I will not.
Well, it turns out that guns are just horrific. Then never mind. The awesome. Aaron, why don't you share your move next? Because then you have a little bit of time to think while I'm doing mine about talking through the book stuff a little bit too.
Yeah, I'm gonna have way more as the year goes on to share, but I'm going to start with Pasión de las Pasiones by Brandon Leon-Gambetta. There are playbooks in this, classes you might call them, with all their own moves. There are basic moves, but there are also play set moves, places where you can set the game, where things might happen that generate their own new moves or affect the moves you already make. This is a telenovela or soap opera RPG. And so one of the settings is La Rosa, oh my God, my eyes are so bad, Querida. And it's a beautiful hotel. And while you're there, when someone attempts to strike out at you or demand what you deserve while by the pool, you may immediately mark a condition to throw them into the pool and escape their wrath, interrupting their move and preventing them from rolling. If you do this, they may immediately mark a condition to drag you in with them. It's such a classic scene from so many reality TV shows, soap operas, teen movies even. And so the idea that the landscape around you and the genre tropes of that landscape can kind of force you to do certain things or add options to your standard moves, I think is really smart and beautiful. I'm sure Brandon Leon-Gambetta will come up again in our discussions, one of the great all-time move writers and kind of move archivist. There's an old Twitter thread where he just basically reproduced the skeleton of like all extant PbtA moves so that you could take them and use them to build your own, like really important archival work as well. So yeah.
And it is that that archive is actually linked in the little zine, and there's a short link for it that hopefully I've set up already. If not, I'll have to make sure that's done later tonight also too. But it's going to be a ttrpg.link something. I'll cruise through and find it in just a second. I want to share my favorite move. And I have a lot of favorite moves. I love moves that do interesting things, but I think one of the moves I've had the most fun with that I think would seem surprising is from a game called Patchwork World by Aaron King. It's one of my top 3 favorite games of all time. I don't think anything will ever get it or GURPS out of the top 3. So basically everybody's competing for that third spot. And so, but the role plus question, Dev, the team called it out. The role plus question format, I think, is so tremendous. And I
also from Brandon Leon-Gambetta.
Yeah, and it is from Pasiones, but I got first exposed to it through Patchwork World because a lot of the moves do operate in that mode, but not the one I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about Journal as one of my favorite moves because this is kind of like there are 2 types of things that I like to be able to do as a character, and that is have weird things in my pockets. So if you have a move that's going to let me have weird things in my pockets, Apocalypse Keys has one where you have holy or unholy or weird divine relics depending on the playbook that you have. It's one of my favorite things. It just lets me pull out a weird thing that I have, or Defy the Gods if you are playing the Sailor class like Richard was when we did our actual play. One of the moves there lets you have a item of power that you found on a previous journey, but sometimes it's just a little bitty thing in your pocket. That's cool. But the other thing I like to do is I like to interrogate like the scene to find out more information about it and to slowly let that work towards like a bigger aha moment. And I think a lot of times this happens in play naturally, right? Like the players are doing a good job interrogating the scene. But Journal kind of mechanizes that in a really interesting way. But it's when you take time to diligently document a day's interactions with those you love, When you should be doing something else, take +1 forward, interacting with someone you wrote about, and choose one of the following. You better understand their feelings, raise 1 stress. You better understand the feelings of the person you wrote about. Ask them a question from the stare into eyes, not your own move. You have the beginnings of a brilliant plan to bring people closer together. Describe who's involved and fill a segment of the clock. I don't think I ever used the first one. I never reduced anybody's stress while using this move, but I did use the second 2 a lot. But when the clock is filled, you hold a party or create an unlikely meeting that seems coincidental. Everyone involved shares time and space, and you and they all race up to 2. But I used this to get my third move in the game, which was a friend of a little raccoon who's, when I stared into eyes not my own, also completing my track though, and who started living in my big giant suit. But I really love the ability to just kind of say, hey, this is me intentionally taking note of the things around me and allowing it to eventually coalesce into this much bigger thing over time. I especially love the fact that it's when I should be doing something else, like that it explicitly, like that is the cost is, yeah, there's probably a more important thing I should be doing this moment. I'm just going to take some time to journal and recenter myself and better understand the world around me. And I have loved the payoff of this move tremendously the 2 times I've been able to fill the clock. I just think it's absolutely tremendous every single time, and there's a lot of flexibility to it as well as far as how you want to work in fictional positioning on it. I think really interestingly is there is no, like, if you were using the middle part of that, you might stare and like also stare into someone's eyes, not your own, but there's no rolling involved in this move. Some of my favorite PbtA moves are just you do the thing, you pay the cost, and then it happens. And it's one of my favorite things that I think people oftentimes don't consider when they're looking at PbtA moves. Like oftentimes it's the reduction of like 2d6 plus statter plus questions, roll it, and here are the bandwidths, and maybe we mess around with those. But there are a lot of great PbtA moves that you do and they just happen. You're going to pay a cost for it, but they don't have to be that kind of standard structure. And it's one of the reasons that Journal, I think, it was in part really originally attractive to me, was that it's just going to happen. And so it is one of my favorite PbtA moves from my favorite PbtA games by Aaron King. And I don't see any. There's no rosiness appearing on your cheeks. We haven't gone far enough.
Still black and white. I do want to say I didn't. Well, I did write that move, but I stole it from Tell Me When It's Visible. This is a book called I Captured a Castle by Dodie Smith. It was written in 1968. A lot of people will call it like the first YA novel.
Okay.
And it's about this young woman who's the daughter of a professor, a writer, and they have leased this castle for him to finish his book in. And all this other stuff is happening, and she has an older sister who feels the need to get married, and she's always writing in her journal. And I did a project where I took all my favorite books and thought, like, how can this be dramatically mechanized? Like, how can this be a dramatic thing in a game? And when you play D&D, you probably don't want to be a little girl journaling as your main focus. If you are a little girl journaling, you also probably cast cool spells or hit people with a cast iron pan or whatever. But I really wanted to make that something that could make things happen, like you said, like could take a narrative spotlight, could change relationships, because it's done so beautifully in the book. And maybe this is something we'll talk about as well, but like drawing in influences is really important to me, and this is a really good book, and so that's why that move exists.
I love it. I am it is the thing. I've written one PbtA move. Maybe I'll go find it but if I can. It was for our between actual play. I've only ever written one custom move, and I wrote like 3 or 4 different versions of it and spent a long time thinking about it. But like oddly, a custom moves feels like cheating, which it's not. Like if you're going to do the jam also too, put your custom moves in there. They're cool, and just tell us what game they're from. That's awesome. But it's the only time I've ever written a move. I have tons of moves that I love, but a lot of them just fall into that. And I think a lot of them do wear their influences really clearly on their sleeves. And I think thinking more intentionally about those things, especially over this year, will be a lot of fun to kind of dive into, like what are ways to pull influence from that also too. So Aaron, you've dropped a couple hints about things you've written about in this little zine that people will be able to pick up tomorrow on the site. But you wrote a few different sections, right? So you talk initially about the hard move, where that comes from, kind of this point of challenge. But you also write a section about cool and sharp and weird moves also too. Do you want to? Are there a couple things before we dive into kind of the meat of the remainder of our time and helping Sarah write a PbtA move? That you want to highlight out of that? People can also go check it out for free tomorrow, but
I think go check it out first. Each section is based on a stat name from the original Apocalypse world, which again I owe so much to, along with Brandon Leon-Gambetta and all the other game designers that we'll get to as the series progresses. But you know, there's a section about GMs making hard moves. Obviously, that is a big part of this, and that was part of the project when you approached me, was like, GMs can be afraid to be mean, and how can we reframe that? Because it's not being mean, it's putting a character in a spotlight, and it's being true to the fiction of the world. But it's also about making hard choices as a player and putting, oh my goodness, putting your character in tough places or finding ways to make hard choices. And so each section just kind of gives a different slant to the idea of the hard move and why you should try to make them sometimes.
Love it.
There's a line in the little zine, and I'm gonna struggle to find it, but you kind of summarized it so well. And something that I really enjoy about like making hard moves as a GM is that like when you enable, like, hard moves aren't just for the GMs, they're for the players. And like, it's so we can both be making them together. And the harder the player can swing, the harder the GM can swing. And that's really where we get good storytelling, really dynamic moments. It's not in like the safety of like these small, like 1% more damage or like a little bit more. It's these big kind of narrative shifts. And it's something that I found myself saying to players all the time. Like, you want to do something buck wild? Hell yeah. Because that means I get to do buck wild shit too. And like, that's the stuff. That's
and
the good
the
stuff.
gun captures that. I think that's why you brought it, is like,
yeah,
you can live the D&D fantasy of just one-shotting the biggest, baddest enemy. But if things go wrong, things go really wrong. And then the GM's gonna, and to me, that's so exciting. And as long as everyone's on the same page and everyone feels kind of safe in those that contract and those stakes, that's a more exciting role to me than, do I beat the armor class? Do I do some damage? It's 100%. Do I save the day, or do I like ruin myself and everything? And like, that's why we watch movies, is to see those moments.
Right.
You know, not all movies, but like especially genre movies, action movies, like that's where the exciting parts are. Yeah. And getting there faster and getting there more concisely and letting everyone know what the actual stakes are. Like, moves are so clearly, often, and poetically written that you just like, you know, this stuff is about to happen and you can get excited about it.
Yeah.
I love it. But we are there's kind of a challenge at the end of the zine on how to write your move. There's some requirements that you encourage people to, and the jam is really meant to kind of help embrace some of those things also too. And so part of the reason we have Sarah here as a guest tonight, Sarah, who is more of a designer, I think, than they ever want to meet. So people who don't know, Sarah is our stepdad on our team. That is their official job title and description. But Sarah also, like, out of all of us, is one of the people who kind of rejects the concept of being a designer. Most of the rest of us design games. Sarah, despite having a new design credit and a Land Once Magic, really does serve to represent like players and GMs and the grounded experience of play that +1 is all about on our leadership and ownership team. As somebody I always am excited to sit down and play games with, and does have design credits, but hasn't necessarily done a lot of design. And so as part of making hard moves, our first session 0 is going to be having Aaron work through Sarah's, I don't know if it's your singular design concept, but a design concept we've been talking about for a while.
Most exciting.
For a really long time. We don't need to talk about how old this Google Doc is.
Oh, that's right. That's for the Google. It's from the Google Doc. So So there was I just remember us. I don't even remember how the conversation came up, but we were the first time I heard about this. We were at breakfast after PAX.
So so here's what had happened. You before tweets were a forbidden art. You had put out a post that was essentially saying like, pitch me just like a buck wild idea. And I remember I like saw it in between doing stuff, and I kind of jokingly was like, here's a concept that I have, or like here's something that could be kind of fun. I think that the specific pitch you were asking was for more of a setting, like give me a setting. And the pitch that I did is adventurers traveling through goldfish dreams, like much like Inception, right? Like how they're moving through a dream landscape, but instead of the human mind, it's the dreams of goldfish. So it's warped and weird. And I kind of threw it out into the void, and I was like, that's neat. And then probably immediately in the days following, I got multiple messages of like, hey, this actually rocks and you should do something about it. And I was like, wait, yeah, okay. And I think it must have been shortly before PAX of 22, because then like from there, Amanda P, who's based out of Philly, struck up a conversation with them. I've talked to Aaron King about it.
We have a whole group chat.
We have a whole group chat that every time it like pops up, I'm like, ooh. I thought I could just like trick like Dan Phipps and Aaron and Keegan and Amanda into just like making a thing, and I could be like, yes, you've done it, well done. But they keep being like, so what are you gonna do, Sarah? And I'm like, because it's a new way of thinking of in game design that like I'm used to playing games, but like going through and thinking out like the outcomes, I think I've built up in my mind to be difficult. So I'm really looking forward to doing this and having more like a workshop experience where we say like, no, like here's the things that we want to do, specifically starting with a move of what goldfish dreams could like be or feel like. So that's kind of the concept.
Love it. Well, and that's what we're going to do right now is we're going to make goldfish dreams happen.
Hell yeah.
I have shared a document between all of us. This is the living document for this show. It probably will, maybe when we're all done with the year, we'll make all the horrible notes in here public. But for right now, this is a planning space. It's a prep space. We're going to show it on screen because people can watch our horrible typing live. Then I'll go back and forth. Don't worry about spelling.
If we get 15 viewers on the stream, I'll put my camera on my screen so you can see.
You can devil see it. But we're going to kind of work through that. And so I am not an expert at this. I will vulnerably, I'll find my horrible move and share it at some time. Let me find it. Yeah, Aaron, I'm going to kind of hand things over to you to start kind of talking through and walking through this. There is not an expectation that we have a finished 100% perfect move at the end of this time.
But we are going to do that.
We are going to do it, but that's not the expectation.
Yeah, we're going to be perfect, practically perfect in every way. Yes.
But the goal is to move through the basic movements of helping kind of create this, talking through it, and over the course of the next like at least 20-ish minutes, kind of have the concept of a move that Sarah could refine and then submit to the jam if they wanted to, or just use in their own goldfish dreaming related experiences if they wanted to. So
I'll hoard it like a small treasure.
Yeah. And so yeah, I'm gonna hand it over to y'all two. I get just to hang out now.
Can I ask Sarah my questions that I had sent you ahead of time?
Thank you for asking for consent. I agree to this line of questioning.
We can start with those. So
yeah.
You know, if you've given the broad pitch of the game.
Yeah. So the idea is that like, because when I was thinking about like a setting, right? Like I didn't want it to be fantasy. I didn't want it to be sci-fi. I wanted it to be very surreal, very like something in the in-between, and like more specifically a space for characters to like, or players to go that like didn't make sense, but they could still like learn about themselves and about their worlds and about their realities. And I loved the idea that like goldfish exist everywhere. What they perceive is like kind of uploaded into this surreal landscape. that's very volatile, and that through whether it's, somebody's like plugging you into a matrix, or in a more fantasy setting, like a spell is cast or something, players have to navigate this volatile space to gather information about themselves, about their quest, about, anything in between. But like where they can make big swings, but like it is dangerous to them. It is ethereal, it is ephemeral. And like, yeah, go for it.
Like part of the pitch that appealed to me was that these dreams can like pop if stuff gets too crazy in them. They can collide so that information can get mixed up. And so part of it is like surreal exploring, but also part of it is almost espionage of like, what have the goldfish seen? And how can we monetize that, or, make that
how do we make that useful to us, right? And one of the big things that I felt was important as we were kind of building this out and giving us legs is that like in goldfish dreams, goldfish have no concept of a lie. So everything like that is in dreams is true. Like they don't, like what they perceive is truth, is reality. And I loved that because I think as somebody who's like running a game, if I'm trying to like get players to kind of engage with like a thought or a thing, or if we're trying to like have powerful character moments, kind of removing like outright deceit between players makes it more interesting, right? Because they're trying to move safely through this volatile world that could at any moment pop if they swing too hard. But by the same time, like truth can be heavy, truth can be messy, truth can have these unintended consequences. And how do players interact to like, what are they willing to like do to get information to like get through this place? And like what things can be revealed through that was kind of the vibe that I really liked as we've done some light building on it.
It's just so funny because if you told me all this and then you were like, roll a d20, I'd be like, great, you know what you're doing. And I think you could, in play, make decisions based on that.
Oh yeah, like, and I think from like a design perspective, like, and this is where I struggle. Sarah, could take this concept and like just run with it, and like we could roll whatever kind of dice we wanted to do, but turning it into something that's like repeatable, that other tables could use, that would still like create the same environment, I feel like, and not to put too fine a pin on it, but underwater a little bit, because it's a different kind of creative muscle to flex, of like, here are the consequences, what makes sense, what's too ridiculous, what's not, and kind of like balanced in an unbalanced world. But then again, like, I think I'm putting too much pressure on it. Does it need to be balanced? I don't think so. But at the same time, like, I've just never done it, so it's a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah. A place I thought would be fun to start. To me, it doesn't matter how we get into the dreams, or it does matter, but it matters later on.
Yeah.
And to me, I think there's a lot of exciting stuff about, like, during the day I work at a pet shop and I try to get people to buy goldfish so that at night I can like go, there's a lot of fun stuff in world building and these kind of smaller bits that could maybe be great for players to latch onto and build their characters around. But to me, the big thing that appeals to start with is this dream's gonna pop.
Yeah.
Like, this is gonna explode. We gotta do something about it. And so if you want, that seems like a fruitful place to start.
I think that's great. I love that. I like the idea, and especially for like a move, I think that's a really great place to start. Because as I reviewed the like make hard move zine and kind of like the idea that we were going through, I was like, yeah, I think starting with, just rather than me trying to define like aspects of the world or like fishmongers or like this whole secret underground society of like blind goldfish, you know what I mean, like all of these things, like maybe let's just start with and you mentioned it in the zine, like what is I can't remember exactly how you phrase it, but like the output? Like, what is the intent? Like, if we're zooming out from the situation, like, what is the thing that we're seeing? And I think that, yeah, this dream's about to pop. What does that mean for the people inside of it?
Yeah, if we play a campaign and there's no one's ever scared of a dream popping, maybe we should have picked a different game.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
And, you know, we'll put aside, to me, you know, oh, this dream's going to pop. I start thinking, how do we measure that? How do we quantify the danger of the dream popping? Is there a track we're filling? But let's not worry about that right now, because the dramatic moment is this dream is popping.
Right.
So there's a trigger to moves when blank, blank, blank. So I think we'll start with when a goldfish dream pops.
Perfect.
We don't have to worry about a stat, right? Like, you will roll. Maybe there will be a stat. Maybe there will be questions. But the things I try to start to think about are like, you know, what's the worst that can happen? You die, right? Your character dies. But then Fiasco by Jason Morningstar, at the end of the game, the mid result for your character is you die. It's like, that's great, you found peace. And then there's worse results. And so let's start thinking about the worst things that could happen. And then let's dial it. Like, I want to bring it back into, I love what you were saying about like truth and personal revelation. You know, the dream pops, you have to go somewhere, you have to end up somewhere. There's maybe a liminal space where things happen, but like, what are those things that are happening to people if you're not dead?
Yeah, like, and that, so in my mind, right, so this dreamscape is, it's comprised of like bubbles that are like floating or like kind of coming in and out, sort of a thing. And when fish wake up, they pops. Or, and I think you are dead. Like, the peaceful result is, I like that middle. The worst thing to me would be that you are trapped, like in the like floating in space, essentially. Like, you are still cognizant, you're still aware, and now you're just
no dreams. You're in the dreamless space.
You're in the dreamless space, and like, you're just like inundated by like sound and noise. It's not like collected in a perfect like little sphere and like a singular narrative, right? It is still a dream, so it can be kind of wonky. It's just, you are being completely bombarded by light, sound, faces, whatever, that like without context, without meaning, and you're like adrift with no like way to like grab on, right?
So that happens to the character. That sounds awful. I wouldn't want to tell the player, now you can't do anything.
Right. Yes. So I would just say, you're in a really shit position. Right. You are going to have to figure out what you do. There's a sacrifice to getting out of this.
Okay. So I think there are some options there of like, this awful thing happens. Your character is doing this. You are stuck here. But are there other ways to like let the player keep playing, to be like, your old character is stuck here? Do they become a goldfish swimming up? You know, like, can we give the player like agency even while their character is stuck in there? Like, do they have to make a new temporary character? Do they adopt a side character for a little bit?
Do they like, does the fish wake up and they are the fish now?
This is all right. This is good. This is fruitful.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a brief moment of just like, ah, and they just get sucked into like one of the fish's consciousness.
But also, if they planted these fish in the homes of powerful people, they know what truth is now that they're in the fish. And so is this a moment for them to like survey shit and actually impose some truth on a situation that is otherwise goldfish confusing?
Right. But they are also a fish now.
Right. This is good.
And they don't know where they are, right? Yeah. Like, you've just kind of like borked into like some sort of reality.
You got the fisheye lens on all the time.
Right. You don't have a stomach anymore. Things
Do
are
fish
crazy.
not have stomachs?
Goldfish don't have stomachs. So this is the other thing. So when I was like doing this, I was like, I'm gonna learn everything there is to know about goldfish.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of really interesting things about gold. They can recognize faces, they can recognize music, like composition. So they did like studies playing like Chopin and like Bach to fish, and they could like tell, like, yeah, this is what's going on. If you leave goldfish out of the sunlight, like they lose their scales will lose color, and they'll like it like there's so many goldfish facts that
That's
are
what happened to
really,
Aaron's camera. We left it out of the sunlight for too long.
too long.
These northern climes.
They also cannot close their eyes. They do not have eyelids. Their eyes are always open, which I like. Again, love the concept of like they are sponges of information with minds that like cannot comprehend or hold, and so pieces of these are splitting off, fracturing off for like players to take advantage of.
So we have some 6- results. PbtA move, you roll on a 10+, great things happen. On a 7-9, maybe a hard choice. You do it, but something else is going wrong. And then a 6 or less, be prepared for the bad hard move. But on a 7-9 where a world pops, it means like maybe you escape. You probably do escape, but can we bring in the no eyelids thing? Like, do you take on aspects of the fish? You escape, but you can't close your eyes for 1 month. You see everything that happens. You like,
yeah. I like what you're thinking. Let's see.
You lose
I'm
all
reading
color,
through my goldfish
like
facts.
me.
You lose. I do kind of love like the idea that like you lose color, or let's see. I'm reading through this.
Is this like goldfishfacts.com?
This is a Google Doc that I have compiled.
A bespoke goldfish facts document.
Yeah. A group of goldfish is called a troubling, not a school.
That's so good also too.
Isn't that sick as hell? The oldest goldfish recorded age was 49 years old. So
I'm coming up on it.
You're coming up on it. They can hear super well. They also, let's see. They can see. Goldfish have one of the most studied senses of vision in fishes, which is wildly fascinating to me. They have great senses of smell and hearing. And their ability to hear comes from small bones in their skull that link their swim bladder to their inner ear. So they literally like feel the vibrations in their tummies to make sound. Like that's crazy.
Why they like music so much.
Yeah, they're just weird little guys.
Rumbly tumbly. Yeah.
Rumbly tumbly. So I would say like okay, great. You make it out, or you make it to the next stream successfully.
Choose one.
Perhaps,
yeah,
like choose one. You can either
you can't close your eyes.
You can't close your eyes. You hear with your stomach. Or
but they don't have
like oh, that's right. But your swim bladder, I guess, is more accurate.
I'm gonna write down intestines in the notes.
There you go. I like that. Or maybe you lose your stomach.
You lose all color.
And you lose all color, something along those lines.
I wrote down you gain a troubling, because that
there we go.
Having a troubling sounds really like,
and
it's
then
just
the
a
character sheet has a space.
Has a troubling track.
That's really good.
10+ normally I think would be like you escape, right? But I think we can not complicate that, but make it exciting to give them a choice. Like, do they want to escape back to the real world?
Ooh, or
where else can they go? Right, exactly. Like, if they succeeded on this, give them the power to choose. there are probably other places they could maybe go. So are there other, I don't know, based on the
No, I
genre,
really like that.
based on the, like where else could they choose to go that would be beneficial?
Yeah. Whether like, because in my like when I was thinking about it, right, it's this interdimensional space where you go, you can find information. These dreams are kind of like floating in on they're next to each other, right? You can escape into another one. You can hop through them to reach like a different destination, like a quick travel sort of a thing. It's this weird space on the in between, full of truth and horror. Like, do with that what you will.
Is there something I also wanted, like the idea of like unfiltered truth really appeals to me. And so I like the idea of somehow working in the players have to reveal something about their character's truths to everyone else. Like everyone else gains the open eyes of the goldfish and they see a truth. The game Good Society has this awesome mechanic where you give someone a monologue token and they just have to, in the classic Jane Austen way, just talk about how they're feeling and what they want and what they love and what they hate. Can we do something in this move about like you're passing through the realms,
right?
Someone reveals a truth or someone spots a truth in someone else or something like that.
I really like that. Yes. I think what I was thinking kind of in those ways is that let me see if I've got it typed up, but like there's let's see. It's almost like there's truth in the dream. There's like parts of like bits of wishes or whatever, but in order to like accept or find wishes, you have to kind of give up truth, sort of a thing. So whether it's in like this move or a different move, maybe like part of like finding pieces of wishes or whatever is like you have to give X number of truths about and like pick it. It doesn't have to be like one character, but like pick 3 questions from this list and answer them, and in order to like find a piece of a wish to be able to do XYZ with.
So there's maybe like a reveal a truth side move.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so if you escape the bubble as it's collapsing, maybe one of your options is look to this reveal a truth move.
Yeah.
Reveal a truth about yourself, gain some wishes or something.
Yeah. Exactly. Like we as a collective, like and again, like the more truth that's revealed, the more unstable a dream becomes because you're just filling it with more things, and that's kind of like
that's how I feel every morning. Yeah.
Right. Too many feelings. I'm gonna pop.
The dream is dying to the truth of the outside world. How unfortunate.
The dream is dying.
I must persist, though.
Yeah. No, I really like that.
Do we have a move, Tony? Archivist, writer of the...
I've written a lot of things down. Here's what I've written down as far as notes.
Okay.
When the goldfish stream pops, y'all can also look at this. It's on the screen, but also in the document. We were working kind of 6 to I don't know if the last conversation was 10 or not, but it sounds like it. When you are adrift in a dreamless space bombarded by sound images and a sensory stream, the fish wakes up, you are stuck in the fish. Our mixed ones were gaining an aspect of the fish, which were lose color, no eyelids, here with your intestines. You gain a troubling or you have no stomach. The unfiltered truth ? I wrote down name and mark a revealed truth. When the track is filled, access a wish. I was envisioning some amount of boxes that if you essentially getting out of one and rolling well eventually lets you potentially advance to getting a wish, right? Was kind of the concept. I think one of my questions that I was thinking about during it is, are goldfish dreams separate from all other dreams? And do your dreams interact with goldfish dreams?
Only if things have gone severely wrong is my impression.
Because I do think there is, and I think this would probably live in either the mixed or like mixed success or like hard move. other people gaining because the unfiltered truth part and the sensory awareness part I think are cool. Other people around you gaining an awareness of like a bad dream you have or a piece of knowledge
that's what I meant about the revealed truth, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Gotcha.
instead of the truth of the dream, something bad comes out about you.
Yeah.
Like, oh no,
Gotcha.
everyone realizes that I'm dreaming.
Yeah.
About.
Yeah. Like this, there's something about you that's now out in this space where other people may or may not be. I gotcha.
And honestly, that could be what a troubling is, right? Like, because that is like essentially the cohort around you now knows the thing about you. Like, it could be. Yeah, I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying I think that is an interesting, like and this is essentially the like what is the fun and play version of I imagine myself naked, before a big test that I didn't study for, whatever. Like, right, like that is like playing with that coming out of yourself, whatever that dream fear is. Like I think there's a really interesting interplay there at the table and relationally, and if it's just related to who's around you when you pop out, like that is a far less controllable thing given fictional positioning, right? It may just be your friends. Is that in the middle of like a showdown with the big bad who is also the person who broke up with you in high school? Maybe that also too.
Right. There's a triangle agency thing where you're back in the office and the HR person sees this awful dream that you've had about them. Like, yeah, I think it's a fruitful place to look at it.
Yeah. And so, and it could even be a stream through all of them, right? Like there could be that interplay at each level. But I mean,
I really like the idea that like you gain like a troubling, which is like a truth is just known about you and sort of like has a ripple effect through the dreams. So it's definitely broadcasted to like the fellow players and like the party that you're with, but it could potentially like alert other people who are traversing this thing of your presence and like they now have like personal details about you, right? Like not only did your classmates see that you didn't wear pants to school, but like people in the hall did too. Like it's a broader kind of impact. I really like that.
I love that.
Speaking of streams, is anyone in the chat giving us some help?
No one in the chat is beat. Everybody's listening. People are asking interrogatory questions about like, oh no, never mind. Signal station just popped in, and it was before they would have even heard you say that because of the delay. Maybe your exposed dream propagates to other goldfish dreams, and everyone keeps encountering them. Like there's a reflexiveness.
Yeah, I like the idea that it's almost like there's an echo effect of it, right? Like this thing is like, as the vacuum of truth is like popped, it like pulls out a truth about yourself, and like that's what kind of sparks across this strange, weird landscape that people are traversing through for a myriad of wild reasons.
I'm immediately starting my Goldfish Dream zine called A Vacuum of Truth. Expansion, new moves and options for Goldfish Dream.
Amazing, very good.
But yeah, I mean that sounds like we have a move for what happens when goldfish dreams pop. Generally speaking, I think we'd need a little bit more textual structure around it, but the overall kind of output part is there. And I think the question of like, hey, is it a stat? I mean, one of the things I think that's so great about the question and fictional is they make just really tremendous standalone moves. But again, I love watching people play around. I think the classic one I hear people reference from Aaron's design a lot is your parents are swallowed by whales, and you just consistently gain whale as a stat. Like, are there ongoing tracks or stats that you want that goldfish dream travelers like that they are accumulating and dealing with?
Gain?
Yeah. I think those are all interesting questions too, but yeah. That's a really interesting question.
Maybe we don't have to answer it right now.
You don't have to answer it right now.
Maybe we don't have to answer it right now. Yeah. I do like noodling it.
That comes out in play testing. Noodling is also fish related. So
yes, when you hold, you know what noodling is, Sarah? When you
roll noodling.
Sarah's noodled.
Sarah's. I just want to make sure catfish are not goldfish. So.
Sarah's noodled and been catfished. I would bet money on that.
both things are true. No, I know of the noodling. I don't think if I've been catfished, they did a really good job, and it is still actively happening to me. And I would love to live in suspense forever.
Yeah.
Please keep it that way.
I do wonder if Pablo Frankenstein is just going to catfish Keegan forever, or eventually,
I really hope so.
come down and become part of a
I
throuple
really
with him and
hope
Joe.
so.
And so, that's what I want Keegan's move. I want a Pablo Frankenstein based move. Actually, Pablo, go ahead, get in there. This is your moment.
Let's get you on the stream.
Pablo,
make that hard move, Pablo
Yeah.
Frankenstein.
Come on, Pablo.
Appear on stream.
As hard as your abs are. And if you don't know what we're talking about, go to Blue Sky and search Pablo Frankenstein Jr. And enjoy everything about that experience.
That boy's got abs like a corn cob.
100%, all the way down. No, I think this is great. I think this is a great starting point. I think, Aaron, if you were going to keep on going in this process, because I don't know that we have to, but maybe some notes for Sarah to keep on thinking about. We just talked about like, hey, what are some of the things that might contribute to how you roll this? But what are some of the other things you might toss out as things to further noodle on this move?
Yeah, like I said, like it implies a move about truths being revealed and gathering wishes, which I think is maybe something you could also do if you like successfully infiltrated the dream. You might be gathering wishes and revealing truths. So there's then becomes an ecosystem of currencies of like, building up, like you said, the wish track and everything. And then I think I would want like some sort of system of, this sounds like a game where players and characters might be lost and separated from the group. And so what do the players do if their character is off in the zone?
Yeah.
And giving them a list of options of like, you're now the person on the computer back at the office, or you're the goldfish, or you are, some other enticing option. It sounds like a game where separation might happen a lot, and so it might be good to build in this idea of
kind
some
of what that happens,
players to do when their character is just like zoned out.
Yeah.
One of the worst things in the game is to be like, you can't do anything this turn.
Oh yeah, no, you never want to say that. Like there always needs to be at least two exits, right? Yeah. Like one that is unsatisfactory but safe, and one that is I'm doubling down. You know what I mean? I'm doubling down on the weird. And then a third, unknown options that players will inevitably come up for themselves and pitch. Yeah. And like that's the beauty of games, right? Is the negotiation of, but what if this? Yeah. Which is always super satisfying. Also, Kelby has joined the chat, so everybody say hi to Kelby.
Kelby heard there were goldfish and came over to check it out, and so
yeah, she's
perfect perching.
What's good? Yeah. She's just kind of being the worst right now, but I love her so much. I'll let you get along, little doggy.
Doubling down, trading locations with the fish when the dream pops. Yeah. So I think, the goal for us, and Sarah's her own person with the life, and who has big things coming up in 2026 already that we're very excited about. We're not going to tell anybody what they are.
I don't know.
It's a secret.
It's a secret. But yeah, I would love to see kind of what you do with this, Sarah. And if you do it, we'll get art made for it, and we'll have Johnny lay it out. A whole move just made by you. But yeah, I mean, I feel like this implies at least two other moves that are kind of like in tandem with it in conversation. You don't have to make all those if you don't want to, but I would love to see you take a crack at it and us to do some cool Sarah shit in 2026 with this. So we'll, if that happens, you'll see it over on the jam. We'll get it. I think, Sarah, do you have an itch page?
I don't. Like, that's the thing. Like, this is not my space. Like, it is, but it isn't. Yeah, and so I think I just want to thank you for doing this, Aaron. Thank you for like taking some time to help me even just like talk through it and like help throw out ideas to stick, because it's super helpful for me. Or I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have thought of it that way. Like, it feels very like when you sit down to do it for the first time for me, and I'm sure I'm a human being, and this is probably a very normal experience. But it's just sort of like, oh my God, I have to have everything figured out right this second for anything to make sense, right?
God,
It's kind of like when you're
not.
first sitting down with like a big game in a big world. It's like, I have to know the zip code and every person that lives in this town and what street they can buy corn, or what happens when they ask me about tortillas. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, it can be really overwhelming. This definitely makes it feel like, no, you just have to figure out, like, if this, then what, and build it from there, instead of you understand the atomic collection that has brought about this phenomenon.
Well, I also think the fun thing about this, and again, part of the goal is like even for things to be in conversation with each other. Like, it's been one of the most fun things hearing the bakers talk about the changes they've made for the third edition of Apocalypse World. Is it's based on who wants to play, how they want to play, what's happened at their table, like that people are wanting to interact with the game in different ways. There is a fun level of you finishing this move and then just putting it out and saying like, hey, do other people want to make a move that interacts with this move? Like, you don't even have to be the one who does that. The fun thing is you can be like, I figured out what happens when a dream pops. Here are some notes about an infinite amount of notes about goldfish. If you want to make a move that interacts with this, I welcome you. Right? Like, those are things that over this year we can do. Like, and I would encourage people, if you're gonna hop in the jam, to think about like whether you want other people to have moves that interact with your move, how you want to invite people to do that, like getting together with some other creators and being like, let's make moves that are in conversation with each other and talk through that. Like, I think it's one of the richest veins about PbtA design that, like, I think we understand it in a play state, like that the moves are talking to each other, just like we're talking to each other. But I don't think everyone has really realized that is part of the design state. Like, we think about things in very kind of commercial terms of like, oh, I did a hack of this, or I reskinned that, or hey, I liked this move, so we took it and I got the person's and I put it in the middle of my game. And all those things are a form of those moves kind of talking to each other and us being in conversation through them. That I think there are people who are enmeshed in PbtA who probably had a decent sense of that, like especially people who roll up to the baker's house and get to play with them. But I think there's a lot of other people who may miss that. And I also think it's one of the beauties of like, make a custom move. When you make a custom move, that move is in conversation with the game that you are playing, right? And I will find it before next episode. I could not find my move that I made. But it was basically...
I hate it when you lose your moves, Tony.
It was basically...
leave your moves lying around.
I was playing as the mother, which is somebody who's building a Frankenstein monster. You can go watch it on the stream. And I used the move even, so like it's on there somewhere. But it was basically make a freaky little monster friend was the move. It was that when you approach a monster with a desire, sort of like a desire to understand it, that you can roll against composure or one of the other stats. There were 2 stat options, and that like the best result was that monster will become like an NPC ally for you. The worst result is the monster freaks out at you and lashes out because you dramatically misunderstand its nature. But it was basically make a freaky little monster friend, and we got the Limehouse Lurker to be a weird stepdad to the child that I was making. And it was like your 2 dads, one of whom is also an ancient little boy. And so it was super, super fun, and really enjoyed it. So, Dev the team, it is a game jam. The game jam is at ttrpg.link/makemovesjam. You can head over there and check it out. Just launched it. I don't know if anybody's joined yet. We could find out by looking, but I'd have to go do that. This is great. This is everything I wanted from the first episode. Sarah, are you fully satisfied with everything that's happened and more?
Yes, I find this to be quite adequate. As my niece would say, quite good.
Excellent.
What Aaron, a weird niece.
She's wonderful.
Aaron King is co-host supreme, dictator of our hearts and lives. Is there anything else you want to add in before we're done?
Can I close with a quote?
I'd love for you to.
This is a quote.
Well, I do want you to framing wise understand. I'm going to end the stream as soon as the quote is done. We're not going to say anything. This is going to be the final moment and beat. Okay,
of course.
I want you to know that.
This is a quote from A Young Man's Journey in Viraconium by M. John Harrison. The lesson we learn too late is that we cannot have only by wanting. Nothing impedes us. We need only act.